Good evening all. How are we? Oh, my face cam's frozen. Great. And we're back. Hello, hello. How is everyone this evening? So, first of all, I've got to sharpen my knife. I've got to shift the camera slightly. How's the audio? Are we good? Good to hear, John. Brilliant stuff. Great. So I must admit I haven't really got a lot of carving done at all since Friday. I'm sort of back in full printing mode again, so it's been a bit hit and miss with the carving. So we're not on the secondary key block like I promised, but we still have work to do. Good to go. So I only really managed to get this bit done yesterday. It is indeed. Don't really make any money on the carving. It's all the reprints that we make the money on, but we do what we must. So I'm going to finish off these couple of bits in here on these two figures, and then I'll do the bit of clearing out. So as always, if anyone has any specific questions, do pop them up in the chat and I'll do my best to answer. So, a pretty exciting development from the last stream on Friday. I'd mentioned that I was interested in sort of collaborating with some other people, and I'd thrown some names around of people that I'd quite like to work with. Well, I spoke with Laura Boswell yesterday. If any of you guys don't know Laura, then you should definitely check her out on both Instagram and YouTube. She does some great streams and video series. But we decided that we're going to collaborate, well, potentially collaborate on a print together later on in the year, combining some work that she does in lino and some Japanese woodblock stuff. She does these sort of amazing mountainscapes with these really expressive key blocks in lino, and we thought it would be kind of interesting to combine something of the two and see if we can do something like that together and sort of put it out at a good price. And see how it goes. But we only had an initial chat the other day, and I just sort of expressed the idea for the project. Laura seemed quite enthused by it, so we'll see. Hi George, how are you? Hi Ben. Yeah, it's exciting. Laura's really was the first person to ever give me any type of instruction in Japanese woodblock printmaking. I did a couple of day courses with her years and years and years ago, and she's always been very good to me. She's always provided me support. She used some information that I gave her for her most recent book. She's had me on her live streams and done videos and stuff. She's always been very good to me, and I've always wanted to find a project to work with her on. And what better time than the present? Yeah, I saw your hi Ryan, George. I saw your post on Instagram. It's coming along well. How many blocks is there? I think you said 4 with the key block. George, are you carving alongside me carving? Do we have a very meta situation going on? Both of us carving at the same time. Four blocks in the key blocks. What's the original? Are you able to post a link in the chat if you don't mind? And another bit of sort of housekeeping from Friday. I'd mentioned about potentially doing the next Patreon series after the final. There's still 2 prints left to do, so after the final 2, doing a series on yokai and ghosts and stuff using adapting some Kyosai designs. And someone had mentioned that Dave was doing something similar. Or I spoke with Dave via email this morning, and they're just doing a small reproduction one-off of some Matchbox sort of prints that they've got. So he gave me the all clear to go ahead. I didn't want to sort of step on his toes or be sort of following what they're doing. But he very graciously gave me the okay. So I think that is what the next Patreon series is going to be. And sorry, I'm missing chat. I'm sure it's looking great, George. From what I saw of that key block, you're doing fantastic work. Scan from the Hokusai manga. I've got a like a miniature book, and it's a 3 volumes altogether in miniature version. But I could never really make prints from them because they're just too small. But I love that little series of books. There's so much to learn from them. But yeah, anyway, speaking of Patreon, I have decided that once the series is finished, so I have to, when I print, I have to print a certain amount of prints to be able to sort of make it worthwhile and to get any kind of decent prints from the blocks. Even though I send out maybe only a handful, I have to print sort of 30 or 40 of them. So my plan is once the each block of 4 prints is finished, I'm going to create a book that will house all of the designs, and that will go on sale as a full set of 4 prints. So it'd be the price that everyone has paid. So the $30 per print, so it'd be $120, and then plus $30 for the actual book itself. So it would come to $150, and the person would receive the four prints in the Patreon series plus the book itself. And for the Patreons, I was going to offer you guys that book free of charge, obviously, because you've supported me for the whole year, and you've been here for the streams, and you've been great to me over the past few months. So if anyone would like a Japanese bound book to house your prints in, it'd be made with decorative Japanese paper, and would be traditionally Japanese bound. If anyone would like that, then once I come towards the end, I'll ship that out with the final print in that 4-print series. And then obviously I'll continue to do so for each series. So at the end of each series, you'll receive a book, and be able to store your prints in them, and they'll still be removable. They'll just be sort of held in with photo like corner clips, I should imagine, unless I can figure out a better alternative. But how would you guys feel like that? Is that something that would interest you, or are you more interested in displaying them up on the wall and stuff, and having them framed? Right, we have 2 faces to do now. But I've always wanted to design something for books, and I'll be I'm back to front on the camera. Where am I? We are there. And I'll be making one anyway to store mine. I'd like to keep a copy of that series. So we thought, why not as a sort of way to get rid of the excess from the first batch, plus as a thank you. Well, that's the thing. Either I was thinking there's 2 options to that. So either I can produce a book for each series, so every 4 prints there'll be a new book, and the books won't just house the prints, it will have expanded information on the print itself, with some sort of notes from me in addition to the background information that I usually provide. And then there'll be a title page for each print with a small sort of dust cover page. But we could make them so that they went for more prints. The issue would be there is producing books, and then, for example, say someone was unwilling or not able to continue their subscription, then there would be big gaps in the books, and it's quite a large amount of additional work for that possibility. But if that is an overriding opinion from everyone, that they would prefer to house more than just the 4 prints, then I can certainly look into that. My original idea was to just do a new book for each individual series. Ben, so how the Patreon, how it works for me, just for the most amount of ease, and because I'm designing these, well, not designing, but I'm putting together these series to be I'm putting together these series to be a series of things. So the idea is that once you start a subscription of $10 a month, you will start at the beginning of that year's series, which would be the Crane print. Once the 4 prints have been sent out, then there is the potential for any additional prints to go on sale individually. I don't want to be selling the prints individually on the store until the Patreon backing has been fulfilled. So at your, I saw that you'd recently increased your level. So you would get the Crane print first in 3 months, and then in 6 months' time you would get the Hawk print. If that's something that you're not willing to do, then do direct message me on Patreon, and we can talk that through and we can work it out. And I can indeed make sure that there is a Hawk print left over for you once the 4 prints have been finished. But just give me a direct message on Patreon or on Instagram, and we'll talk this through outside of the stream. Well, George, so if you have Patreon prints from Dave as well, if these books, so my brother is going to be potentially making the books for me. He's much more he's much handier than me in that area. I have no sort of aptitude for book binding. I understand the process, but actually binding a book myself would not be, no one would want that. So there is the potential that we could sell blank books to house prints of around that size. I work to the same sizes that Mocha work to. We work to a standard Japanese size. So anything that they would make at that size and under would fit comfortably in any books that we would make that would fit my Patreon size prints. So there is potential for that down the line. It's something that I can gauge over the next few months. If there's a big demand for people wanting books to house more than just the single series of prints, then we can look into that and we can make those accordingly. Otherwise, it will most likely just be a single series book. Yeah, well, so I'm going to offer any Patreon, anyone that's been subscribing to this full set of prints, I'm going to offer them the book free of charge anyway. So it's no more or no less effort for me to send the designs, to send the books over, and you guys can just do what you wish with. Personally, I don't ever frame. I frame a couple of prints for my parents and stuff, because they like to have them. But my own prints I just keep in the drawer and I don't really ever look at them in the end. Right, this face is kind of tricky here. It has this very small bit in behind the eye. It's very easy to take too much off. If we take too much off and he has a tiny little eye, that's not looking good. So we're doing a face like this, where it's sort of just a tiny little dot and a flick for the eye. I like to do that eye first to protect it as much as possible. So if I do that first and I get that wood cleared out of the way, then I haven't got to worry about that again now. And then I'll now treat his ear as separate to the face. I'll just do that as one circle in a couple of minutes. And the trick with an area like this is to make your waist cuts, so clearing out these lines, try and make them sort of large enough that just going in with my little clearing tool, you see I'm just picking out the most tiny little dot there. So there's as little chance as possible of me knocking a line or especially that eye. And before we clean anything out, I'll go around the outside now. And this is really nice and simple going around this the outside edges. We've done all the hard work on the middle. The only place I want to be really sure is just there under the nose. Make sure I've got that little step so that it doesn't look like he's got a flat nose. Thanks, Jules. Yeah, it was just something. It was just something I was sort of floating around in my head as like a thank you to the Patreons, and to sort of find a nice way of selling the additional stock. It sort of makes it a little bit more sort of commemorative, I suppose, to sell them as a full set, seeing as they've been sort of thought out that way and planned as such. All this turn-in's really no good for streaming, is it? It's not very good to have your carver keep turning the block around. But I think I have decided on the next Patreon design. It's going to be the only clue I'll give you at this point is it's going to be a Hiroshige design, seeing as we're moving up through the ages, and it will be of a bird or birds. It's not the owl. Alright, best I get this face done then. Oh wow, yeah, I've that's the first book I ever purchased, and I used to sit and wait for my girlfriend to finish work. Every Saturday I used to go and meet her in town in Oxford, and while I was waiting I used to just sit down by the river or in a coffee shop and just stare at that book cover to cover. It was this big, chunky, red book, and I used to just stare at the prints for hours and hours and hours. I was too terrified. That is something I've been trying to work out a way, George, of doing one of those old warrior prints, and I really need to. The only thing hamstringing me on that is the hair carving, and being able to do that. Oh yeah, you're completely right, Ben. But yeah, back to the warrior print. Yeah, the only thing hamstringing me there is carving that hair. And when I can next go out to Japan, and I can try and badger Dave or someone to sit me down and really show me, and I can sit there and hack away at the block and make a load of mistakes. There's so many of those old cool warrior prints. There's this there's one, it's not a warrior print, but it is Kuniyoshi, and it's of a sumo wrestler, Jin Maku, and he's defeating this legendary ogre, and it's Jin Maku stood over the top of this ogre, and he sort of got him in a throat hold, and it's just the coolest print. And he's got the ogre's got this wavy hair, and Jin Maku, the sumo wrestler, has got his top knot, and the hairs are so fine on his forehead. And I've always wanted to do that print, and it's going to be one of those. It's going to take me my apologies. It's going to take me a few years to get there, but that's on the bucket list. But how? Yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing that sort of puts the fear in me, is that hair carving. Like on animals and things like that, it's fine. And a couple of bits on maybe a simpler sort of postcard print where it's not too much and it's not got the overlap of the two blocks. It's Dave showed me a block that he carved, and I think it was a Utamaro print, and he showed me a reproduction that was done by, I want to say Adachi, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know if he's shown this on stream or ever spoken about it, but this block, it's two blocks, so it's the pale grey that makes up the face and the features, and then the dark grey, the dark sort of grey black block that makes the hair. And this print, this block that Dave carved, is amazing. I have photos, but without his permission to show, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to sort of show it. I don't know if he's ever shown or talked about it on stream. Maybe if someone's in his stream this evening or something, you could try and ask him. But it's incredible. And the print, the reproduction print that Adachi made, I'm just going to say Adachi, I'm not sure if it's Adachi, but the reproduction print that was made is really, really special as well. There's just some things. There's some things, unfortunately, I feel that I will never be able to do. For many reasons. I could maybe get to the skill level to do it, maybe, but I think more importantly, I'm not 100% sure if there's too much of a market for that type of thing, unless you are a collector and you are serious about prints and stuff like that, then it's kind of a tough sell. This is why Jed's prints and Dave's prints translate so well, because they know what sells, they know where the market is, who the market is. It may well be. If it's on the collection, then I'll post. I'll show my photos. I'll do a little slideshow on Friday and show my photos I've got of it and some other ones that he showed me. But it's really, that block is just something else. Like, we all see Dave carving on the streams, and it's like, it's plain to see how good he is. But when you see that block or some other stuff that he's got sat away, you can really see like what his true form is. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, there is that market. There is that. Yeah, it's just finding an in, isn't it? If there was, to be honest, I just want to make them just to, one, to see if I can make them, and two, just to have one, because I'm never gonna have the money to buy one myself. It's a lot cheaper for me to just make a print that I want. No problem, Ryan. Thank you very much for joining, as always. And if you want to continue watching, the archive will be posted on YouTube. It should be up. It usually takes about a day or so for the upload to go ahead. Right, so I've got to do a tiny bit of clearing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to shift the mic up out the way. Otherwise, we're going to have some annoying banging in our ears for a minute or so. But I'm just going to clear out these bits here, just around there, and then we can have a nice relaxing few minutes just clearing the back of that. Give me 2 seconds, I'll go get my... I use white PVA glue, like the cheapest possible. Sorry, let me just grab it. So I use this. Just the cheapest possible white craft PVA glue that I can find. I use the cheapest possible ones because they are very water soluble. They don't actually have a lot of sticking power, so it just about holds on and doesn't clog all the pores of the wood up. I know people have used wood glue, and you can use nori paste. I just never have. I got this, and you just need a little dab. A little goes a long way. Damp the block beforehand, but because it's kids glue, it's safe and it washes off really easy, and there's not a lot of trouble in clearing up. Yeah, nori can be. I don't know. Yeah, I would just get some really cheap PVA, if I'm honest. Cheaper the better. I'm just going to flip the microphone up for a second so I won't be too loud. And I'm back. My apologies for that. We can probably just zoom out a little bit now. There we go. So we are making progress by the current progression. We should have this finished in. If I was just working on it on my own, I could have it finished in a day, but I'm printing at the moment, so maybe another 2 or 3 streams. See, this little section here is a bit tricky. The wood's sort of not cooperating in both directions. Usually if that happens, I'll just go into using this small one, because it tends to ignore too much of the sort of the grain pulling, and get in and do it that way. It's a little bit slower, but I can guarantee it's not gonna pop and chip a line then. Yeah, just any like white cool craft glue. Should do for it quite fine. Just be a little bit wary with whatever glues you're using. If you are in fact using ply, then the wood can get a little bit more saturated, so just be wary of that. But the blocks are perfectly capable of getting quite wet, so washing it quite vigorously is not gonna, as long as you're not sort of busting up all the lines. Giving it a good once over and a clean off afterwards isn't going to do any damage. I mean, I just use, when I clean it off, I just use this horrible old toothbrush and just scrub it. Use a spray bottle and just scrub all the old gampi off. So look, I'm going to admit a mistake here. I have just popped a tiny little line just here. See this little gap? So to remedy that, as I was speaking about beforehand, I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to just shave the corner off that and just sharpen it up so that it looks like a little break in the brush strokes. That is one method of correcting a stupid error like that. Ideally, you don't want to make an error. If that was a face or a hand, then that would have been a big problem. But that being that little dot on the leg where it's quite a busy area, can sort of get away with it. Sort of. Terrible practice on my behalf, and shows my amateurism. But it can't be helped. And if it was one of these sort of ornamental lines, there'd be no choice other than to just cut a plug. But for a tiny corner of a fold on a piece of clothing, it can be masked relatively easily. Sometimes it happens. Time we on? We're on an hour already? Well, I'll just finish this little bit here. Well, there we go. And I'll zoom right in on it now and I'll show you. See, just that little bit there. Just there. But we can fade it off. We can work it out. So, we got another figure done. I'll be back Friday. I haven't actually got too much in the way of complicated printing tomorrow, so I should get a good bit of time done on that, done on this. But yeah, we can expect to just be finishing this block off on Friday. Yeah, that's Elmer's. I've heard people naming that before, John. But Friday. Ben, if you do want to chat about that hawk print, then the eagle print, then do DM me on Instagram or Patreon, and we'll figure something out. Other than that, everyone, stay safe this week. Everyone have a great week. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all on Friday. Take care. Thank you.